Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. I know you have it here, but you know I like to hold the mic in my hand. How is everyone doing? Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. We recognize that Thursday is the day after Hump Day, right? And so you guys are preparing for the weekend and you have a lot to do. And so we are grateful that you have decided. You cannot hear me, Mr. Wilkerson? Pardon? They need to up it? Okay. Volume, please. So we are most grateful that you have decided to join us this evening to have this very important discussion. Those of you who have been coming on a weekly basis understand that this is an 8-week series. And so this is week 6. And we've been having a very interesting and productive time having conversations around public safety in the city of Lauderhill, understanding the facts, reviewing the data. So grateful for our police chief and, of course, her team to be able to advise us in terms of what's really happening in Lauderhill. And oftentimes we know that we feel safe in the city. Don't you feel safe in the city of Lauderhill? Let's act like we're in church and say amen. Feel safe in the city of Lauderhill, but it's unfortunate when we turn the news on, we will see stories that are quite negative. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to tell the true story and ensure that the narrative changes that way. So we're having these conversations throughout the city. And we've had them in various places in Lauderhill, on the west side and central. Now, of course, the east side of Lauderhill, as mentioned, this is our 6th week. Just being able to interface with residents, get to hear your thoughts as well. Our city manager the other day quoted me when I always say that the answer is in the crowd. It just doesn't start here and it doesn't stop here with the leadership. Indeed, you are our residents and you have your ear to the ground. And so it is imperative that we listen to what you have to say and to be able to know the things that you see as well, what your experiences are. And this is not just conversations that we're just having. We're taking information back and see how we can improve on the ends that we need to. And of course, what we can implement that is new. And the things that are working, we will continue with those things. And so tonight, I am most grateful to have you to be able to share your thoughts with us because, of course, your voice is of great value. And so we are going to begin where our theme tonight, and every week is a different theme, of course, covering all areas. It's really the importance of safety and how we are able to understand mental health and some of the crises that happens where, say, for instance, a police officer pulls someone over or somehow he encounters an individual and the person is acting a certain way. It's very important for us to be trained in the way that we can recognize that that person may not be well, and then perhaps be able to deal with them a little bit differently than if they were to deal with someone who was just a criminal of sorts. So it's important to be able to have the right training, and of course our police department does, and we have community partners that are here as well that assist the city of Lauderhill, in particular our police department and our fire department, and you will hear from some of those individuals too. And so it's about mental health and crisis support and safety beyond law enforcement. And at this particular time, we do have some of our community partners that we're just going to jump right in and have them come up just for 3 minutes to introduce themselves, of course, and to speak a bit about their organization. And then I'm going to have the city manager to come up and to just give a few words. Then we will turn this over to our police department as well as to our fire department. Does that sound okay? Yes, okay. And we are mindful of your time as well. So we want to make sure that we get out of here at the time we had intended. I will then ask for our leadership team to please come up and sit here. Yes, really appreciate it. Thank you. So we have Chief Stanley, We have our city manager, Mr. Kenny Hobbs. We have our deputy city manager, Sean Henderson. We have our deputy chief, of course, Chief Gonzalez. We appreciate you being here, sir. And who else is here? Miss Yolande Todd, who is our chief of staff, and she is also over our procurement department and everything else. If you need something, you call Yolande. So Yolande is here, and is that it, sir, for you? Code enforcement, perhaps? Okay, wonderful. So we'll just wait for Miss Yolande to come up, and then we are going to, thank you, Yolande. We will begin. Yes, we will begin with the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County. And let's shout out our HOA presidents that are here. Yes, Ms. Cooper, of course, for West Kent Lark. Ms. Cooper, thank you. And Mr. Wilkerson, I see as well. Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Yes. Oh, that was his wife. And we see Barbara Herman that is here too, over from, yes, Endron Cultural Center. Thank you kindly. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us come out tonight. My name is Marslin, and I am from the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County. We are the primary advocate and resource center for older adults living in Broward. So if you need help or any assistance, we are the ones that you need to contact. And this flyer that I have in my hand is the best source of information when you come to my table. It has everything that we do, including the most important piece of information, our helpline number. So if you have any questions about what you need, or if you have any questions about Medicaid long-term care, Medicare counseling, we're able to assist. We also do emergency home energy assistance funding. So if you need help paying your energy bill, we're able to step in and assist. But for mental health and for health in general, we want to make sure that you are being taken care of. And that is in the regards of social isolation. Social isolation is one of the biggest problems for older adults. It is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And that's how much it affects your health. So we do Linking Lives, which is a social connections class. It's where we teach you how to build social connections, and it also affects your mental health. We also do mental health first aid classes, and that's why we work with different communities. We've been implementing it into our own departments, so we train them on how to spot mental health crises. And then we also have technology programs, again, dedicated to reducing isolation and loneliness. So we have robotic pets, tablets, and we just want to make sure you're connected. We want to make sure that you are taken care of. We also do a lot for caregiver support. Caregiver burnout is a huge issue. So we want to make sure that the person receiving care is taken care of, but we want to make sure the caregiver gets the help they need. So respite care, adult daycare centers, counseling for groups, support groups, we want to make sure that you're taken care of. So if you have any questions, come to my table or call the helpline number. We are happy to help. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we're located in Sunrise. So thank you so much for having us come out today. We truly appreciate and want to help anyone possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. We also have with us Dr. Cedric Alexander, and we will ask for him to come up as well, please. He's working very closely with the police department, and this is quite fitting for him to be here because he has a doctorate as well in psychology. And we know when we're talking about mental health and all that is associated, it's very important to understand the human mind, and that's what he does. So, sir, you may take my seat. Okay, and we are now going to have, I see on here, A Stone Music Therapy. Is that gentleman here as yet? Okay, Henderson Behavioral Center. Wonderful. Thank you. You got another one?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanna. I'm a licensed clinical social worker over at Henderson Mobile Crisis. We do a host of services, but I'll speak about my department. If you or a loved one or a neighbor is experiencing a mental health crisis, so for example, thoughts of suicide, thoughts of wanting to harm yourself or others, psychotic episodes such as hearing voices or seeing visions, you're more than welcome to give us a call and we go out to you. That can be at a school, that can be at your home, that can be underneath a bridge. We do operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. During the day, we do tend to come a little bit faster because there's a host of teams working on call, which starts from 9 p.m. to 8 in the morning. There's only one clinician for the entire Broward County, so sometimes it does take us a little longer. And I'm trying to sum up everything because we do a lot. But one of the things that we do is we assess if that individual meets Baker Act criteria, which means an involuntary assessment at the hospital where they meet with a psychiatrist. Sometimes when individuals are struggling with mental health concerns, they unfortunately don't have the insight to recognize that they need help, and that's where we come in. And we have flyers in the table right on the first one, but I'm here, and if you have personal questions or anything else, you're more than welcome to approach me. Okay?
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. And we also have Broward Behavioral Health Coalition. And after this young lady speak, then we will ask for Light of the World Clinic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tiffany Lawrence. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and also the senior director at Broward Behavioral Health Coalition. We are the managing entity in Broward County. What that means is that we receive funding from DCF to provide services or fund services for individuals who have no insurance. And so it's important that people without insurance have access to mental health services, and that is what BBHC does. We have a network of mental health providers, including Henderson, they're one of them, and we're able to connect individuals to specific services if they're experiencing a crisis or if you just need therapy services for youth, for adults, as well as for seniors. One of the services that I want to talk about is our care coordination teams. When individuals are in crisis, they call the mobile response team. They may have to go to the hospital or get into services, but what happens after that crisis? That's where Broward Behavioral Health comes in. We have a care coordination team that helps families get linked to services that are needed. So hopefully in the future, they don't have to continue to go through those crises. And so we have brochures in the back. Along with our care coordination teams, we also offer intensive services that include therapy, psychiatric. We have life coaches for youth and young adults, which also might help keep communities safer as they're busy and more engaged in the community. And so we have flyers with our number on the back. And all you have to do is contact and say, hey, I have a youth, or I'm looking for myself, or a family member, and they'll direct you to the correct department to be able to get the mental health services that you need. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kylie. Okay. And again, this is Light of the World Clinic.
Hi, everybody. My name's Adina Wilson. I'm the outreach coordinator for Light of the World Clinic. We are a nonprofit clinic in Oakland Park. Our doctors volunteer their time so that we can provide free medical care. That is a huge relief from stress, okay? A lot of stress and mental issues come from the fact that you're worried. You're not feeling well, your kids are sick, whatever, and you can't afford to take them to the doctor. You have no insurance, you can't afford to self-pay, you're trying to stay under the radar, whatever the issue may be. Our 3 criteria are that you live in Broward County, you have no health insurance, and your household income is under 2.5 times the federal poverty level. Those are our only 3 requirements. Because the doctors volunteer, our patients get a ton of specialists. Everything from, I love the fact that our patients get acupuncture because my insurance doesn't even cover acupuncture. Acupuncture, dermatology, gynecology, pediatrics, ophthalmology, cardiology, podiatry. We do have counseling 2 days a week. We try to build partnerships to fill in what we don't have. So, for example, we have a deal with 2 local dental offices. Our patients get cleanings and x-rays for free. We do have a dispensing pharmacy, so we try to give the patient whatever medication they need, be it an antibiotic, your child, has an ear infection, birth control, insulin, whatever it is. If we have it in the dispensing pharmacy, you get it for free. During COVID, when nobody could find insulin, we had it and our patients get it for free. I was just thinking about something else. The partnerships that we build. For example, Holy Cross does our ladies' mammograms. That's a huge machine. It's a big expense. We partner with them for that. Walgreens does our flu shots. We do have the deal with Wave Dental. We are trying to build a more robust mental health section. But we do have the counseling 2 days a week, both individual and couples. We are open on Saturdays. The clinic is open Tuesdays through Saturdays, and everybody in the clinic is bilingual. So our founder in 1989 felt that everyone deserved not only complete health care, but culturally sensitive health care, meaning if English is not your first language, you need to be able to communicate with your doctor or your caregiver in your native language. So that is what we strive to do. I have brochures in English, Spanish, Creole, and Portuguese. If you have any questions, please come see me, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay, we also want to recognize Broward School that is here. Yes, and you can come up as well, ma'am. And while she comes up, I have this flyer here, Harmony Development Center. Who is the representative that is here? Okay, wonderful. And so you would like us to mention that you have a free summer camp here at West Kenlar Park. And here it says you are now accepting applications. It's from June 8th through the July 24th, correct? Okay, wonderful. And so you would like to speak a bit about it? Okay.
Oh, so yes, my name is Taria. I'm a success coach. I'll just speak briefly about my program. We are an after-school program, and then we have our summer program. It begins June 8th all the way until July 24th. So basically what we do, we teach them life skills, we cook, we paint, just different things like that, getting them exposed to different things that they've never tried before. We my program caters to middle school, grades 6 to 8. We take 5th graders going into 6th grade and 8th grade going into 9th grade. I also offer volunteers, so if you know any high schoolers who need volunteer hours, you could come talk to me. And then we also offer therapy services. And we also have outreach programs or, community resources or whatever you need. Like if you need help with groceries, I'll help out with that, that kind of thing. But it's just an opportunity for the kids to do stuff and get out of their house. And we also do a lot of community things, like the little library outside. My kids painted that. Thank you. And we're also working on a few more community things for the park and whatnot. We are actually located here, right here. Usually we take place in this room. So if you were walking in, you probably saw some of my kids out front. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Some of my flyers are over there. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. And of course, Broward Schools.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Edwards. I am a school social worker with Broward County Public Schools. And as a school social worker, our biggest umbrella is not just attendance, but we also work with mental health. Our neck is constantly on a swivel because we are looking out for our students, our teachers, staff, our families. And not only that, but we look at what's going on in the community, because oftentimes what happens outside our walls affect what's going on with our students and what's happening in our schools. So I would encourage each of you to know who your school social worker is, seek that support and collaboration, because together that's how we can attack and address mental health and wellness. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. And so as mentioned earlier, we're going to have our city manager is going to give a few remarks, and then we're turning this over to Chief Stanley. And Chief Stanley will introduce some of the community partners that have been working with the police department, as well as Dr. Alexander. And of course, sir, you will have a few words too. So city manager and then Chief Stanley. Thank you kindly.
Good evening. Again, thank you all for coming out. I will not keep you long. I think the mayor did an excellent job on the occasion. So I would just really like to encourage everyone to participate in the discussion. As she stated, this is really about you. So it's really about us listening, about listening to you. Please bring forward any suggestions, recommendations, things that you feel we do well, things you think that we can improve in, or areas or things you believe that we're not providing that we should consider providing. So again, I'm here to listen. We have staff here that can address any questions that you may have, but it's really about you, so please don't be shy in coming forward to have an open discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out to this event. Every opportunity I get, I do commend our mayor for putting this event together. I think it's very important. And as we all know, education is key. What I do appreciate, I know there are some familiar faces who have been to more than one of these events, and I think we have 2 more after this. So please, if you could attend them, make sure you do, because again, we want to make sure the information is out there. We want to make it available to you, and also provide any information that we can, let you know what resources are available. A lot of times I often hear that people say, oh, I didn't know that, or, I didn't know that this was available. So this is why we're having these meetings and this dialogue. So without further ado, one of the things that we do engage in, and our mayor mentioned this earlier, as our police officer, we are provided training. We wear a lot of hats. And one of those hats, when we respond to calls for service, we have to be able to understand a crisis. So there may be cases or scenes that we respond to, and we have to be able to identify what is needed and how to interact if someone is suffering from a crisis. It used to be in the past where we provided this training when officers do respond to scenes, and this is going back some years ago. But now that particular training, which is crisis intervention training, is something that is mandatory. So an officer who is certified in the state of Florida, it is required that they go through this training, and Sergeant Nisser will present that later on and just go into details. One of the things the mayor also mentioned, that we do have community partners, and I want to at this time call a couple of them up to say a few words. Anytime that we need these available resources, we do reach out to them, and we get the help we need. Also, I want to mention that we have a victim advocates unit, and we have one of our victim advocates here who will go into detail and discuss, some of the programs that we offer and the services that we provide to victims who are in need. So I'll call Broward Health to come up first, followed by unmute yourself, Ms. Jonette Brooks. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Salome Lofty. I am the Director of Community Impact for Broward Health Point. Broward Health Point is part of the Broward Health System. The mission of Broward Health Point is to ensure that all the residents of Broward County have access to affordable, quality, accessible health care. We do that through our network of 11 primary care centers conveniently located throughout communities in Broward County. We are located in cities like Lauderdale Lakes, Margate, Pompano Beach, and I did say Margate. The services we do provide in our clinics include primary care services for adults and children, behavioral health, maternal health, dental services, HIV care, as well as pharmacy services. In addition to our 11 brick and mortar clinics, our goal is to ensure that healthcare is accessible to everyone. And how we do that is we do have 2 mobile health units that are out in the community 6 days a week, providing care where you live, work, play, and worship. So our goal is to ensure that everyone has access to healthcare regardless of your ability to pay. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Jonette Brooks-George. I am the Principal Consultant at Unmute Yourself Incorporated. We are an interpersonal violence disruption agency that focuses on awareness, advocacy, and activism as it pertains to many issues of violence that exist in our community. We work directly with the police department in reference to domestic violence issues in the city. We also run programs in the city where we do training on mental health first aid. We also have summer camp and spring break camp programs where the students are involved in activities that address their mental health. We are very much aware of the fact that suicide deaths is the second highest form of death for teens and young adults. The first is gun violence. So we know that these are topics that are quite important in our city, and we take priority in having conversations with our young people. Our young people don't always want to talk to their parents because they understand that parents and grandparents have many other things to worry about, economic issues and so forth. So they pretend to be fine because they know that you can't handle them other than them being fine. You also don't understand what it is not to be fine as a teen in a world where social media exists and bullying is a normal thing in and outside of the classroom. Another issue, yes, we spoke about Broward schools having social workers. The truth and the fact of our county is that we have 1 psychiatrist for about every 14,000 children. So, and we've had layoffs in our school district, so we have even less access for our children to connect with individuals who are trained in mental health. Our team, we have 2 psychologists. I'm a psychosociologist, so I use psychology components and sociological components to do therapy and counseling with our students. And then we have 2 licensed social workers that work on our team. So we we use various means of addressing their social needs and their mental health needs through our organization. And we're open to work with any group, any church, any after-school organization to come in and provide support for them. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Great.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Belize Leyva. I'm the Victim Services Coordinator with the Lauderhill Police Department. So we do have another full-time victim advocate. We also have a part-timer. So there is a total of 3 of us. As you all see, I'm almost there. So I will be out, but they will be taking over. So basically what we do is work with victims of all crimes. We primarily focus on violent crimes, so anything aggravated, robberies, homicides, also non-crime. Suicide is not a crime, but we respond to those. And we get a lot of calls about just people in need in the community, honestly. There's so much going on, so there's always someone that needs shelter, help with rent, whatever it is. So we try to point them in the right direction. But what we do specifically, like I said, we work with victims of crime. So, and that, again, that is all crimes. So if it's anything domestic violence, if they were injured, if they were gravely injured, we will offer to go with them to obtain a restraining order to go to court. It's very traumatic. You have to kind of relive it when you're petitioning for an injunction is also a restraining order. So we go there for support. We help them fill it out. They do have to, like I said, relive it. And that can be traumatizing. We just went last week to file an order with a female that was assaulted by her husband, and she had a hard time. Unfortunately, you have to be very detailed and you have to list dates. So it brings up so much trauma. So because of that, we will go with the victim and provide those services. And then we will also go back, because once you petition an injunction, if it's granted, it's a temporary one, and you have to go back in 2 weeks to ask for a permanent hearing. And that in the permanent hearing, the offender can be there. So that's also traumatizing for the victim, because they're there and the offender's right on the other table. So we will offer to go with them if they like, just for support, and just to let them know that, you know, they are not alone in this. And we also make referrals to some of these community agencies here for counseling. And Women in Distress is not here, but we work with them closely as well. We do have a partnership. They respond to our evening calls. If it's a partnership and there's any DV, they will respond to the scene and provide services right then and there if the victim agrees to it. So that's great as well, because they're getting the services right away. We do still follow up, my team. We do follow up the next morning just to make sure they receive the services. And of course, it's all voluntary. They don't have to. You know, we offer our services. If they don't want to participate, that's okay. We're just planting the seed. A lot of time with domestics, it takes an average of 7 times before the victim leaves the offender. So a lot of times they don't want anything. They don't want to press charges. They don't want to file a restraining order. And that's okay. That's their right. I always tell them, like, that's okay. Do what's best for you. But if you change your mind, you give us a call. And that's all we can do. We're just planting the seed of knowledge, like, hey, we're here to help you. We also deal with victims, the family of victims of homicides. We reach out to them, provide services as well, a lot of counseling, a lot of crisis in the moment, because it's obviously very difficult situation. We also provide services to the family of a suicide. The loss team is great. They respond to suicides in Broward County. They offer, again, peer. Everyone on the team was affected by suicide themselves, so they do peer-to-peer mentorship. And they also offer, if there's funds available, assistance with crime scene cleanup, funeral cost, and all of that. So they're great. We work with them closely as well. And we also do, if it's an eligible victim of a crime, it's called Victims Comp. It covers any medical, mental, dental, out-of-pocket emergency expenses. We also do that application with the victim. They do have to qualify, and it has to be certain crimes. Not all crimes qualify, but we are able to assist the victims in that way. So there are a lot of resources that we use. Again, we work a lot with the community members. We don't provide counseling ourselves. We're servicing all of the victims of Lauderhill. So we do what we can, and then we will refer out to whoever needs any other services. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Felice. One of the things before Nister comes up, I wanted to mention, when it comes to domestic violence cases, if there's a child involved, we have to make sure that we list that child's information in the report, because what happens is that child is provided with counseling, because we don't know what impact that may have on the child psychologically. So that's why it's important for our schools, if you see any behavior, because there may be crimes that are not reported to us, but yet that child is acting out in school because of what they're experiencing at home. So one of the things that we do is we have to make sure that we list that child's information in the report to ensure that they get counseling up into adulthood. And if they need it beyond that, then that is available as well. All right. So seconds.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Nister. I'm a sergeant with Lauderhill Police Department. Thank you for the opportunity that you've given me to be here. And thank you, Chief. Thank you, the Mayor. And thank you all for coming and taking a vested interest in your police department and in your city. I wanted to start off and kind of ask a question, maybe not ask a question, but make a statement. I know that in terms of law enforcement, we're discussing mental health and crises. There may have been misconceptions or perceptions about law enforcement's involvement when it comes to mental health. But I really want to cement the community's confidence and reassure you guys and gals that the police department is held to a high standard, and that's how we operate. And it's very important for me as a supervisor on nights for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I supervise 10 to 15 officers, and my responsibility to the city and to those officers and also to the residents is to make sure that every case and call that we get has the best resolution. And those include mental health cases as well. But also professionally, I had been a SVU detective dealing with sex crimes, child abuse, domestic violence, child pornography, and mental health is a component of those victims as well. So it's very important for me as well. So again, if you have any questions at the end, I'll take them, but I just wanted to kind of reassure everyone that mental health is an important factor for police as well. So my name is Joe Nister. Why does mental health matter to Lauderhill? We have about ballpark 75,000 residents, and 1 in 5 Americans lives with a mental health condition. And one of the reasons that we get called for mental health calls is because there is a crisis that's taking place. And we'll get into that. Every Lauderhill officer receives crisis intervention training because every officer will encounter people experiencing these crises. What is a mental health crisis? I know we discussed that it's a very prevalent topic in 21st century America. A person in crisis is someone whose distress has exceeded their ability to manage that stress and their own emotions and behavior. It can be caused by untreated or undetected mental illness, missed medication, trauma, or sudden loss. Substance use combined with mental illness and extreme stress or isolation. What it can look like, I know that the mayor had said, hey, if there's a traffic stop and someone's acting a little weird or a little erratic, mental health crises take place in any situation, really. It can be erratic or unpredictable behavior, severe confusion or disorientation, threats of self-harm to themselves or to others, inability to communicate coherently, and extreme emotional distress. But another element that I wanted to highlight tonight is that a mental health crisis is not necessarily a criminal situation. So I'll get into those details and how Lauderhill police officers are trained. CIT, crisis intervention training. All Lauderhill officers receive this training. It's not just a specialized unit. There's knowledge, skills, community, and safety. We discuss many components of mental health. I work on nights, and I'm a supervisor, 10 to 15 officers, and every time we meet and we distribute assignments and there's zones and such, we always have a relevant topic, and many times mental health does take the centerfold of that topic, whether we discuss mental health in terms of case law or how to affect a mental health evaluation. I want to reassure everyone here that it's a prevalent topic and we discuss it all the time. So we discuss signs and symptoms of mental illness, medications, and how illness affect behavior. Officers are trained. We're not doctors. I want to reassure everyone. We're not diagnosing, but we are trained to identify what the medication is, what the condition is, and to ask our questions in an investigation in that line. We're also skilled with de-escalation, active listening, crisis communication, and essentially trying to get the big picture, trying to get all the details so that we can make the best assessment and the best decision. We also have community partnerships, as you've all heard, the many individuals that have come up here and spoken in different contexts of mental health. And last but not least, safety. We are responsible for ensuring everyone's safety, including the individual that's suffering from a mental health crisis. We'll get into that a little bit. What happens when Lauderhill responds? And this is kind of for everything. So we'll get called. You call 911. That's relayed to a 911 taker, call taker. That's related to dispatch, and then that's related to us. So sometimes messages get lost in translation, and we have to determine our best response in 1, 2, 3 minutes based on the limited information that we get. So I know it's routine for us to ask as many questions, and that's why if you call 911, they're going to ask you a million questions, because they're trying to relay that information so that we can make the best determination of our approach. So assessing safety, is there an immediate threat to themselves in the context of mental health? Persons in crises or bystanders? Are you calling to report that your child in your own home is just feeling a little off? Or are you calling to report that someone is running in the middle of 19th Street on North State Road 7 with a bat and kind of going erratic? Those are two completely separate, different examples of potential mental health crises, and those two scenarios that I just said are going to completely dictate which way we go. So this assessment is done very quickly and with the information that we're provided. And like I said, sometimes it can take a few minutes, maybe 30 seconds. Step 2, we arrive on scene. Officers, for any mental health call, it's standard that we send 2 officers for not only the safety of the individuals, but also of the parties involved, family members, other individuals, but also the officers themselves. CIT officers trained to slow things down. Their non-threatening posture, calm tone, patient and active listening. And the goal is to kind of reduce the fear and create an element and an environment where you can communicate effectively with police. Sometimes going to a call that is very hyped up, I'm sure maybe you've seen an officer get to an active shooting scene and it's a little escalated and then it comes down as soon as things are controlled and the perimeters are met for that to happen. And then we evaluate, is there a mental health crisis? And this is a pretty big question because a lot of times we'll get called to a mental health call, mentally ill individual, or whatever the case may be. We'll receive the information, and we may get there and it's a completely different situation. I know how to introduce the topic of criminality and mental health. Many times, does anyone know the state statute elements of a battery off the top of your head? This is going to be a pop quiz. The state statute, what many people consider as assault, is actually battery. Oh, he hit me, or she hit me. The state statute elements that an officer has to satisfy is intentionally and actually touching against your will. So did somebody intentionally touch you? Is that their intent to hit you, to push you, whatever? And then did they actually do it, or did they miss and fall over? So the biggest component of that is intent. When we get called to mental health crises, I'll use myself for example, Joe Nister, is he experiencing a crisis? Does he have mental health issues? Has he had anything diagnosed? Many times this looks like the form of a domestic violence call. We'll go there and mom or dad or whatnot, whatever the relationship is, we'll identify one party that's having a crisis and a potential victim, and is this person a suspect of a crime, or are they experiencing a mental health crisis that caused them to act erratically and act a certain way? Your officers are trained to distinguish between the two. And many times, if it's not caught on an officer level, the supervisor will catch it. So is that intent there to hit you? Is that intent there to push you? Or is it because of their mental health crises? So the answer to those questions can either lead to an arrest if there's evidence, or what is called a Baker Act under Florida state statutes, where, and I think somebody touched up on it, you are subject to an involuntary admission to the hospital for an evaluation. The Baker Act state statute is rather vague and allows us to effectuate, either remove somebody from that situation then and there so that things can calm down, but also for that individual to get the correct care that they need. I know I threw a lot of information out. And then the last thing, really quick, is connect to care, which is essentially, do we need to do a Baker Act? Do we need to evaluate and see what else needs to be done? Right into the topic of a Baker Act. It allows law enforcement to transport a person for involuntary mental health evaluations. You know how I said what are the elements of battery and nobody kind of knew? Well, this is what the state statute outlines that we as the officer have to satisfy. Number one, an individual, they appear to have a mental health illness. Maybe you're not diagnosed. I'm not a doctor, but based on our training, it appears that you're having a mental health crisis. And they're either a danger to themselves or others, or they're impaired that they can't make a decision, they can't determine. So those definitions, would you say, are pretty vague, and it allows officers to make that decision to conduct a Baker Act instead of make an arrest, and really trying to identify what do you really need at this moment. Is arresting you going to help your crisis at this moment? Or is a Baker Act the better option for you to get the care and the medications that you need? So this is a health intervention, not a crime. There's no records, there's no charges. It's a documented report that we officers and the sergeants give to the individual family members. If you ever had called for a crisis, a mental health crisis of a family member or a friend or whatever the case may be, an officer may have asked you information. Hey, do you know what Joe Nister suffers from? Do you know what medications? It's important, if you know that, to relay that to the officer so that they can make the best decision, so that they can determine, is this an arrest or is this a Baker Act? For those that don't know, we do Baker Acts transports for adults to Broward Health. There's also Henderson Behavior that we do a lot of referrals to, and juveniles is Woodmont. Right into the topic of victim services, and I believe Belize covered a lot of this. It's more than crime. We offer these services for victims of crimes affected by trauma. I won't get into too many details because I think she covered it pretty thoroughly, but rest assured there is a victim services unit that provides care and counseling and resources for individuals that are exposed to trauma. Here are some pretty helpful resources if anyone wants to take a picture. These are a lot of our resources: Henderson Behavioral, Women in Distress, Teen Hotline. A lot of these have already been covered. If anyone wants to snap a picture of that, I'll move out of the way. I don't want to get in anyone's picture. What to do when someone is in crisis? Is this your child feeling a little off? Maybe they didn't take their medication, and there's no immediate threat to themselves or others. Is this something we call a non-emergency for? Or is this somebody running in the middle of the street at 441 and 19th Street and 441, acting erratically, posing a threat to drivers? Those two situations, those two scenarios are very different. One of them I'm going to call 911, and one of them I'm going to call a non-emergency. Regardless if you decide, just choose 911, we'll get the call. And I want to reassure everyone here that we are accredited, and the reason that our policies and our practices are held to a high standard is we are accredited through CALEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agency. I think, Chief, we've had it now, it's every 3 years, and I think we've had it like 6 or 7. I don't want to speak out of turn. Since 2005? Way before I was here. So rest assured that the policies and the practices that we have in place here at Lauderhill are held to the highest standard of a CALEA Excelsior status. That means that an independent agency has come and reviewed our policies and our practices to ensure that they are best for you. They're independently reviewed against Florida's highest law enforcement standard. We're trained, we're connected, and we're accountable. Here at the bottom over here is a quick response force, and I'm sure everyone here has heard of SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics. Recently in policing, a lot of agencies are acknowledging that mental health crises is a huge component of a lot of calls that we go to. So again, going back to that conversation of criminality versus a mental health crisis, what is the best response to go? Do we want to go with SWAT? And of course, there's going to be situations where SWAT would be called. Somebody has a mental health crisis and now they've taken a hostage, that's going to be a SWAT call. But somebody that's having a mental health crisis that might be a threat or whatever, we have a quick response force team here at Lauderhill. This is our team. Not everyone's on here, but this is by and large our team. I'm one of the commanders for our team, and this is a picture of our training. We train regularly, and not only do we train to respond to critical calls where there is a propensity for things to escalate and kind of blow up. No pun intended. Now we're not talking about bombs. Like I'm talking about like an escalation of crime and anything like that, any violence. We are trained regularly how to respond to different calls, how to tactfully approach, how to engage with an individual. And this training is a specialized training that's on top of the training that we get when it comes to crisis intervention. So this is our team, and we have these officers that are assigned through our detective bureau. They're assigned to different squads. So if we do have a case, I will go very briefly. There was an incident where an individual at a hotel had made some threats against hotel staff. It was a hotel, so you can imagine there's a lot of people there. How do we best contain a threat at a hotel where there's hundreds of people? I think there was like a party downstairs for a wedding. How do we best contain that? And in that situation, we utilized our quick response force members coupled with regular officers to contain that room. We ended up taking that individual in custody, using our tactics, using de-escalation, and utilizing the policies that are in place to take this person into custody for a Baker Act. So on top of all the training that we do to identify the best route, the approach is also on par with that. So rest assured, Lauderhill has the finest QRF team in Broward County. Quick references, emergencies, a non-emergency number, a couple of hotlines here, and that is it. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much, Sergeant. We do appreciate that. That was very informative. You guys learned a lot, yes? All right, and you're eager to ask questions, and of course we will oblige. And so how many persons would like to ask questions? Raise your hand. Yes, okay. I saw you in the back. You were the first person to ask a question, ma'am. Yes, she was. You can come up, you can come forward. And I think there was a gentleman as well. I was watching.
Really quick, can you touch base on non-emergency versus calling 988?
988. Oh, you caught me off guard. I thought you were going to say 911. So I will speak, I'm not going to pretend, but I will speak on what I do know in terms of emergency or non-emergency numbers. So in general, when it comes to 911, that system, understand that 911 services are bombarded, and the dispatchers and all the men and women that take those calls have a responsibility to get that information and then give it to us. Many times we get constant 911 calls, and there's a list of calls that we go to, and it's based on priority. Typically, a call that is administered to 911, it's given in a priority of 1, where, let's say, in the context of mental health, there is a threat that is imminent. Hey, my son just said he's going to shoot me, and he's holding a gun. That's going to get an immediate response with many officers. Or, hey, my so-and-so just hit me, and I think he's having an issue. That's also going to get an immediate response. You can call 911, of course, to report, hey, my son or daughter's not feeling great, and they have this, and I think their medication's off. But there's no threats, and 911 will ask you, hey, is there an immediate threat? Is the person holding a weapon? Relevant questions, and that might get categorized a little bit lower. Regardless if you call 911, those are going to be prioritized in that way. The purpose of using a non-emergency is to ease the burden on 911. Many times those calls are filtered to our records department, and our records would put in that call for us to receive as well. But if you have any question or hesitation, just call 911. If you're not sure, just err on the side of caution and just call 911 for an immediate response. And then it'll be filtered based on priority.
What is the non-emergency number?
The non-emergency number is our number for 954-497-4700, and then you speak with a 954-497-4700. Oh, yeah, of course. The non-emergency for communications, if I have the clicker over here. Oh, okay. So this is our non-emergency for us, the number that I just advised, and these are some dial 211. I think I had it also in a previous slide. 211 right over here. Yeah, right over here. So the first call for help, 211. This is a referral. So it's 211 or a 954-537-0211. Or
Non-emergency is 954-764-4357 or 954-764-HELP. So that's if it's not a 911 related call.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Chief.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Listen, on my way here, it was a guy that laid down in the middle of the street. Should we have just run over him, or what would you like for us to do?
Please do not run over him. And we
No,
have to
but
call the traffic
seriously, traffic is just moving, and he just came from nowhere and laid in the middle of the street. The people started honking, and that's when he just jumped up and moved.
So many times, the example that you gave, you relayed that information, and because there is a potential threat to bodily harm, I don't know if this person is exhibiting behavior that would lead an officer to believe that he or she is going to throw themselves in the middle of traffic. So that's a call that we would prioritize. Understand it's prioritized by BSO dispatch based on the information, and then either supervisors or an officer will evaluate the details in the call and be like, no, this needs a bit of a higher priority, or no, this is not a priority in terms of de-escalation. In that case, we would also respond, hey, why is this person doing this behavior? What is the cause of this erratic behavior? Are they diabetic and have low blood sugar and now they've sat down? We'll call fire rescue for that. That's not a police matter. That we will respond, but there's no Baker Act for that. There's no criminality. And so going back to the officer's training, how do we assess what's happening? So to answer your question, we go there, we respond because it's like laying in the middle of traffic at, whether it's 2 in the morning and there's no lights and that creates a potential hazard, or it's traffic at 6 o'clock getting to West Kenlark Park and now he's running in traffic. Those are the things that we assess. So to answer your question, yes, we would respond to something like that and evaluate the best outcome.
Okay, the second one is, we watch television a lot, and most times we see where the police are not very
friendly.
Yeah, are in tune to a person that's acting differently.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see it, it's always aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So are we to believe that every police department should have the same training that you're saying that you have?
Well, ma'am, when I did start off, I did acknowledge that there is a perception, and the perception made over years, that police may be indifferent or kind of a little aggressive responding to whether it's this call or any call for service. And this is a huge topic that we can spend all night talking about. But what I want to say is that as a supervisor for 3 years, I will personally provide my account of that. Our officers are taught, hey, professionalism is the number one thing. When I get a complaint, I'm like, did the officer curse at you? Were they inappropriate? Did they say anything? No. Okay, well, understand that responding to a critical call, if I go and say, hey, my name is Joe Nistor, can everyone keep it down, and there's a fight going on, it's going to warrant for me to respond a certain way. It's not personal, it's just I need to, what we preach to officers to maintain officer safety is called command presence. I need to respond on scene, and sometimes I'm the only one, and I need to control that scene, whether it's through my demeanor or through my actions. I have to make an assessment and take control because it has the potential to spiral and go out of control until I get more officers or whatnot. When it comes to mental health crises, I constantly encourage our officers, hey, this person is having a crisis and you really cannot judge them for it, or you cannot have any bias or anything like that about their mental health. Your job is to do your job. This is how you are trained. And I, by and large, let me ask you a question. We discussed what a Baker Act is, correct? Briefly. How many Baker Act individuals do you think we'll have in a 12-hour span in the city of Lauderhill?
Hopefully none.
Last night we had, I think, 2 or 3. And sometimes we have more subjects that are Baker Act than we have arrests for the night because mental health is so prevalent. In those cases, I've never gotten a complaint from individual family members or whatnot that our officers were too hostile or aggressive. Is there room for officers to improve? Yes, of course. Whether it's at Lauderhill or the 10, 20 other law enforcement agencies. I can't speak on Plantation, or I can't speak on Sunrise, or I can't speak for BSO, but I can speak for Lauderhill and reassure that our officers do a great job. And by and large, these guys and gals work very hard. And if it ever does come to you calling for 911 and they are, unprofessional, whatever, whether it's a mental health issue or any call you're calling for, I reassure you, call a supervisor, speak to a supervisor so that we can curtail any of that kind of behavior. But by and large, kudos to our officers. I'm very proud of them.
One last thing. Do you use a lot of aides rather than police officers?
Oh, like police service aides?
Yeah.
We do. The police service aides we have on our squad are used to alleviate the call volume that doesn't necessarily require police, like a traffic crash. So we do use them at our department. Oh.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Henry. I do community advocacy here in Broward County, and so I'm grateful to be here for this meeting. I think that what we have ran into is a lot of circumstances when you talk about mental health, that there has been a strategy that has been set up that we had no idea that actually was put into play. And so as I've studied criminal justice, I've went to trainings, I've worked under the Juvenile Justice Department, and I've worked in different agencies where I'm seeing the trickle down of behavior and the crisis that we're facing between Henderson and everything of that nature, and NAMI and everybody that we basically utilize for resources. And so it kind of gives us that system of burnout because we're trying to come up with these ideas with all of the coalitions that we have. But with the way the system is set up, it seems like it's set up for the children and the adults to fail. And so what I learned is that they use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to actually create an atmosphere that makes the children, it creates the criminal. It kind of it starves them out. So it's kind of like if you walk into a woods, if you walk into the woods and the animal sees you as either a prey or a person who's going to harm them, then more than likely they're going to react. And it doesn't matter exactly how they react because either way it goes, your life is in danger. And so when it comes to the police officers, I'm sorry for you because they're not giving us the information that we need, because when the kids come home from juvenile justice or the inmates come home from prison, they're back on a playing field that they just left that they're running back into all over again, which is the lack of support services, the limited amount of this, the limited amount of that, and they're on the streets trying to find a way to make a living, and it's not easy. And so then at the end of the day, when I said, so you mean to tell me you know the services are not being rendered in the community. You know the services that are needed in the community, but you're not allowing the services to be done. So you're driving all of us crazy trying to figure it out. And then at the end of the day, it gives the consistency of recidivism of the inmates in the prison system to continue on to reincarcerate.
If I may just speak briefly on that. Those are all frustrations. They may be your frustrations. Believe me, I think they're everyone's frustrations, even myself as a sergeant. But I do want to give kudos to Mayor Grant here and to our chief for putting this together. This is my first time ever speaking at a town hall, and for bringing the community together to introduce you to these resources that we have and to further the knowledge like, hey, this is what we're doing, and rest assured, we may not be perfect, the system may not be perfect, but we are trying and we are working for you. So we can spend all night talking on that topic as well, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this event is brought to the community to better educate everyone and to introduce you to the resources. Those resources may not be perfect, but together, collectively, that's why we're all here in partnership. So I want to thank the mayor and chief for that. I don't know if that answered your question, and I'm sure we can have a discussion after, but I do thank you for bringing that up.
My question was about the 1 in 5, that's 20%. Is that excessive for this area or other cities? Is it a comparison where they're facing the same amount of 1 in 5 with mental illness?
The statistic about 1 in 5 is in reference to Americans in general, like the 340 million Americans here. But I'm not going to pretend I don't know the very specific statistic for the city of Lauderhill collectively. But what I do know is that I don't want to compare it and say, hey, is this high or this is low? The stat is what it is. And that's why we just have to acknowledge that this can be a potential problem, and these are the resources that we're dealing with the problem. So I don't know if it's high comparatively. I don't know what the city of Lauderhills, I don't know if there's ever been a consensus or a study done specifically for the city of Lauderhill. That might be interesting, and that might be a topic for the future.
And the 988, I wasn't clear about that. What is that number about?
Here you go.
So that number 211 is essentially the 988 number, and that's a number you can call if, for instance, someone is feeling suicidal or they need someone to talk to, and it's not an emergency where someone is in imminent danger. There's no, violence going on. You can call 988 any time of day, any time of night, and then you'll be connected to a helpline counselor who will talk to that individual. They may contact mobile response if needed to go out to the person's house to do a mental health assessment. So 988 or 211 will get you that support if someone is feeling suicidal or needing someone to talk to, and it's not, like a 911 emergency like you went over.
Good evening. My name is Celia, City of Lauderhill resident. I just want to piggyback Sergeant in Chief on what this lovely resident was saying here in the Orange Peace 365 shirt. I suspect what she was asking about was LPD and improving community interactions. And so I'm just curious the position of LPD. Has there been an adoption of the 2015 Campaign Zero policy? Has there been an adoption of the 2026 Labeled for Life policy about reducing gang interactions?
If I may speak on that, I don't know those initiatives off the top of my head. I don't know what that initiative is, but when it does come to some of the things that you just highlighted, gang violence and such, and we can't discuss too much on that because being being a little undercover is a huge element of those operations, but they do exist. I can't speak on the volume of people that do it or where they're working, and those things are just naturally going to be concealed from the public. But they are in place. We do have, to answer your question, we do have detachments to federal agencies. We have for example, I know off the top of my head when I did SVU and special victims, I had a case that kind of like linked with ATF, which is for firearms. It was a violation of it was a convicted felon and whatnot. So I referred it to ATF. We have someone in place that works for ATF. We have someone in place that works for the FBI. We have these detachments that are strategic and specifically curtailed for the city of Lauderhill. Is this problem relevant in Lauderhill? Okay, let's have someone detached to that. Is this problem not relevant for Lauderhill? Okay, there might not be an immediate need. So I don't know the exact initiatives off the top of my head that you just listed, but there are detachments that are specialized to and focused on those particular crimes. Again, I can't get into details because that is an element of it. I don't know if that answered your question.
So the particular one that you talked about, we're not part of that initiative. However, we do, as Sergeant Nister said, we do partner with other agencies to ensure that we're addressing those issues. I know quite a few of you have been to some of our community programs that we do. That's a way of us getting involved and engaged with our youth. We also, during the summer, we have a lot of youth programs. I know at one of the former town hall meetings, somebody talked about a program that we used to have. It was our Rock Academy, Rescue Our Kids. So it was in engaging our youth that had issues, and we would address, those issues through that program, sort of like a Scared Straight. But we try to make sure that we get engaged with the community. We do partner with some of our schools. We do mentorship there. So there's a number of things that we're doing, but we can look into that particular one, and I don't think that we have a huge issues as it relates to gangs. You may have some who want to be gangs or, on a lower scale, but there's not a huge gang problem. But as Sergeant Nister mentioned, we do have someone assigned to a task force, and we not only address those issues in the city of Lauderhill, but we partner and address it throughout Broward County, so some of our neighboring cities.
Good evening. My name is Alice Washington, and I'm a resident of the city of Lauderhill as well. First of all, I would like to say thank you, Chief, for your service to the city of Lauderhill. You are going to be missed, and thank you also, Sergeant, for your service. My question is, Sergeant, you mentioned that I guess on assignments you have zones, that I guess the officers are assigned zones. So my question has two parts. The first part is, do you find that mental health crises occur in certain zones more than others? And if so, are more resources allocated to those zones?
By and large, I don't have a stat book right in front of me, but my perception as a supervisor that supervises for 12 hours at a time is that it's scattered throughout the city. There's no certain concentration. And essentially, regardless of where it is in the city, let's say there is an individual that's experiencing a severe mental crisis that's now kind of creating a priority one call, threats to other people, we utilize officers regardless of their zone assignments to go to that. Sometimes if we'll utilize other resources, for example, if BSO's across the street hanging out, we'll request them. But regardless of the zone assignment, the City of Lauderhill officers work for the entire city. So if I need to pull from certain districts to another to address a crisis, I'm going to do it. So hopefully that answers your question, but there's no particular concentration. It seems like it's everywhere. Okay?
Hi, my name is Samir. I don't live in Lauderhill, but what I wanted to say is, a lot of these resources that are available, I think like I've lived in South Florida since 1994, and come from like a single mom, which I'm obviously not going. I'm a lot older now. With limited resources, I think like the best thing you can do is have town hall meetings like this and let people know that there is help out there. I think that's what we can do even as residents, even in my city. We know where the resources are. So a lot less of these incidents tend to happen once people know that they can get help and without being judged or whether they can afford it or not. And they go in there and they get the help before the bad things happen. I think this is great.
Thank you.
Thank you for that statement, and thank you kindly for all of your questions and concerns. And Sergeant, you did a terrific job. Thank you so much. And yes, for your first time, you aced it. Yes, he did excellently. All right, and at this time, to close out the section of our police department, we're going to ask Dr. Cedric Alexander just to close us out as it relates to the police department. And then we'll have our deputy chief, of course, to come up from the fire department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I know many of you are probably asking, who is this guy? We've never seen him before, right? What is he doing here? But anyway, I'm Dr. Cedric Alexander. I'm former chief of police in 4 American cities. I'm currently interim public safety director in South Fulton, Georgia, just as a suburb of Atlanta. I have contracted with your city via your city manager to have an opportunity to come in, make some assessments of how do you even become a better and greater police department than what you already are. And but let me start by saying this, and I'm not blowing smoke at you either. I've been around a long time. I grew up in policing in Miami, Florida, with many of you may remember Metro Police. Then it went to Metro Dade. Now it's the sheriff's office. That's how far back I go. I know I don't look as old as I really am, but I am. But with that being said, so I'm very familiar with policing in this state and across the country because I've done a lot of work across this country, still do a lot of work across the country. But it's a couple of things I want to comment about mental health. Partly because for me, I'm a former practicing clinical psychologist, probably one of the only few in the country who is a doctorate level clinical psychologist and police chief at the same time. It's only a handful of us across the country. Now, I don't practice any longer, so let me be clear about that. But for those of us that are in the mental health profession, they all will tell you the training we receive will be with us for a lifetime. And certainly for me, I utilize that training in every aspect of what I do, even when it's leading large police agencies in which I've had the opportunity to do. But let me say this about mental health. In this country, depression is the leading cause of mental health. And at some point in all of our lives, we're going to experience some depression. It may be a loss of a family member, or it could be something that happens in our life that kind of puts us in a slump for a moment, right? And we've all had that experience if you're a human being. But we come up out of it. You know, we come up out of it. But there are people who are not capable of coming out of that slump. They stay there for an extended period of time. And then you have other issues that kind of multiply as a result of that. There was a question asked around, is there, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, and I think you had asked the question, ma'am, is there a higher percentage of mental health in some parts of communities than others? Communities that are economically challenged suffer a higher rate of mental health, where you have poor education, where you have a lack of basic fundamental Maslow needs of hierarchy, food, water, shelter, et cetera, are young people in our communities that are stressed for a variety of different reasons. There's a direct correlation between mental illness and those who struggle in those communities. Now, let me be clear about something. Everybody who live in those communities don't have a mental health issue. It's just a higher propensity for that. Also, across all economic planes, there's mental health, regardless of what community you live in, regardless of your gender, your race, your sexual orientation, etc. But depression is the #1 cause of mental illness in this country. And where you find depression, you will find anxiety. Where you find a great deal of anxiety, you will find depression. They're first cousins to each other. So I think it's important that we all be very aware of the fact that mental illness does exist, but we all will have those moments when we go through something, but maybe we can call a friend or talk to someone, or we're in it for a moment, and then we're out of it. That is normal. It is normal for us to worry about things. But when it becomes overwhelming, when it becomes crippling, when it gets in the normal functioning of your daily functions, that's when we all have to seek help. And I think the young man here just mentioned the fact what you're doing here tonight is great, because it raised that level of a consciousness around mental illness and struggles that we all have, so that we can share with our friends, with our families, be supportive of them as much as we can. If Sheriff Tony was here tonight, he will tell you probably 40, 50, 60% of his incarcerated persons that are inside his jail struggle with some mental illness. That is a known, documented fact. In virtually in all our jails and prisons across this country, we have a large population of people who struggle with mental illness. So it is something I think that is important for us to be aware of and to be very conscious about and to think about. And let me talk about your police department for a moment. Police officers have a very unique job, as you all understand, and we all believe. You heard from the sergeant tonight in terms of how they're trained, the way that they're trained, and I think you can look at Sergeant Nister and draw a conclusion for yourself. There's a guy that's well put together, a guy that can inform this community about the challenges associated with policing, at the same time not making excuses, but also owning that we're constantly working to get better and better. And that's hugely important, because police officers and those that are in the public safety, law enforcement community, they too struggle with a great deal of challenges associated with cumulative stress that occurs over time, because they see things that most of us on a normal basis don't see on an everyday basis. And they see it over and over and over and over. And police officers are human beings, and they do what they need to do to take care of themselves as well. But what's hugely important for support of our police is to know that they have a community that is supporting them as long as they're doing the right thing, right? Because that's hugely important, and that's where trust is built. But again, a little bit back to why I'm here. is to continue to work with your city manager and with the mayor to find ways in which we can continue to promote and advance your police department to be not just great, but greater. And I'm really delighted that they thought enough of me to ask me to help in that process. But you really are blessed to have and I'm not just saying this because your mayor is here. I promise you I'm not. But you really have a dynamic mayor that deserves all your support, not just tonight, but every day, every night, and throughout this community. And you really should share that. And a city manager who is so committed to this community to continue to evolve, and someone who grew up in this community, and this is the only job he's ever had. So, you know, you can't get any better than that, right? So you guys are really very, very fortunate. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I've been and worked in a lot of cities and a lot of communities, as I do now. And but to be part of what you all are doing here, to even be here tonight, is really very rewarding to me. And I've learned a lot from a lot of you. And I think you have a great opportunity to learn a lot from each other as well, too. So thank you very much, Mayor, City Manager, for the opportunity to be here. Oh, and by the way, your chief. I look. I've been around a lot of police chiefs, and I've chiefed enough cities in this country to know y'all have a fantastic chief. It is unfortunate that she's leaving, but I tell you what, you couldn't have asked and you couldn't have gotten a better chief than what you have in Chief Constance Stanley. Thank you all very much.
We need to bring him back every week. The compliments just keep going and going and going. Thank you so much, Dr. Cedric Alexander, and he added so much to this. Of course, his degree, his area of study, and then, of course, with experience as well, being able to put those things together and share with us. And I'm sure that many of us did not even realize that depression is the leading cause of mental illness. And all of us, as he mentioned, have gone through bouts of that, right? And it's just a matter of not staying there and not being immobilized during that time. And so in all of us can then say there should not be a stigma associated with mental illness. Because when we talk about anxiety, how many of us, if you were to tell the truth, has had at least one episode of being anxious and having anxiety? Many, correct? And so, and many of us now still probably go through that. So indeed, this is something that in our culture, and in our community, we don't want it to be a taboo subject matter any longer. It needs to be discussed. And we need to be able to recognize, as the gentleman spoke, he's not a Lauderhill resident, but perhaps after tonight he will become one. Well, anyhow. But nevertheless, he had mentioned that it's great that we have all of these resources that are here. I think sometimes persons may not know the help, the education, and the resources that are available. And this is just a part of it. So and this, of course, is only a small, right? A small segment of the different vendors that we have and community partners we have in the city of Lauderhill. We have a long list. And of course, Ms. Yolong Todd, if you reach out to her office, she would be able to direct you to the department that can provide that list for you. So this is what we're here to do. This is what this conversation is about. It's about education, but it's also about hearing from you. So again, thank you for the questions that you had asked tonight. At this time, we're going to turn it over to our Deputy Fire Chief, yes, Gonzalez. And after he comes up and does his presentation, I think we're good on time, actually, right? So we were honest with that. We will then close it out after your questions, of course.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Gonzalez, and I proudly serve as the Deputy Fire Chief for your fire department. First of all, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Stanley. It is exactly moments like this that make a difference, right? I'm from a Caribbean background. Growing up, this was a taboo. We didn't talk about mental health. My parents didn't talk about it at home. But this is making a difference. I'm going to share some of the stats with you from City of Lauderhill that we've run the past 5 years and how we're trending in a good direction. Okay, and I think it's moments like this. For the first time, a lot of you here, you realize that we're talking about this now more than ever. And I think it's making a difference. We're reaching out. We're asking the uncomfortable questions. We're talking to our kids. Hey, are you okay now more? And I think it's making a big difference. Since 2020, Lauderhill Fire Rescue has responded to 3,225 mental health related calls. It's about 500 calls a year, 10 every week. At least one a day, somebody's calling 911 saying, I need help, right? Somebody's calling from this city that they need help. Number one cause of those calls is, like the mayor said, anxiety, right? And I looked around the room when she said who here suffered, and not many people raised their hand, but I beg you to look inside. And we know we've all suffered some type of anxiety at one point or the other. There's no doubt about it. So that's why we need to talk about it. And we have to be comfortable with it. Now it's not going to get any better. Suicides. Back in 2020, Lauderhill Fire Rescue responded to 14 suicide-related calls. That number trended up. 2021, 24, 2022, we had 30. 2023, we had 36. 2024, we had 40. Last year, for the first time, it trended down. We back down to 22. From 40 to 22 in 1 year. Something's changing, and I think it's moments like these again that are doing that. What are we doing? We have a robust community paramedic program that works with a lot of the agencies that are in this room, right? Day in, day out. That 211 service is incredible. It maps the system for you. You call, you press 1, you have this issue, you have that issue, are you doing it? And it connects you to the right person at the right time. There's always somebody there. Sometimes that system's a little too confusing or you get a little overwhelmed. We have community paramedics that can help you. We have our phone numbers, we have our flyers back there. They can come out, they can help you, they can reach out, help you fill out some forms, whatever you need. That's what we're there for. And we got to start young too, right? We have an incredible Fire Explorer program. We're trying to get kids out of the house, get kids out of their iPads, out of their phones, out of their video games, start talking to each other again. We don't do that much anymore. We got to get back to that. And start talking to each other and exploring each other's and picking at each other's brains and minds and showing them what good leadership is and showing them what good role models are. So we have an incredible Fire Explorer program for kids between the ages of 13 and 18. So we're excited. Again, I don't have much more. If you have any questions from the fire side, I'd be more than happy to answer. Thank you for your time. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll relate that back to the firefighters because they're the ones that are making that difference, that are getting out quick and responding to the homes and making that difference because seconds that count. A lot of times like that.
All right, so we'll just take one more question because we want to make sure we respect time. Go ahead, sir. You were wrong, both of you. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Caribbean American, right? Caribbean American, wonderful. All right, thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule. And I want to say thank you to our leadership team that is up here, to Gigi, my assistant that makes things super possible. Alea as well, that works in my office. She is our college intern. We appreciate her hard work. All of our community partners as well. And we're going to close out tonight by having Miss Cooper, who we all know and love. And of course, she is the HOA president for West Canlark. And Miss Cooper, we can't be in your house and not have you come up here. And it's quite fitting to have her to be the individual to close us out tonight. Are you going to do a prayer? No prayers tonight? Okay.
I just want to thank the community for coming out to support this event. It's a lot of hard work. I'm telling you, I'm on the phone, I'm sending texts. How many of you received texts from me? Thank you so much for coming out. We're getting ready right now to take a recess. I want to recognize my Vice President, Janine. She's the communication person. Do I have any more of my board here? Any board members? But anyway, I believe in educating people. We have our HOA meetings. You need to support them because I'm a big person concerning education. If you're educated, you can make good decisions and get great choices. That's why I bring vendors in so that you will know where to get your help. And see, I'm the type of person, I have a lot of people that come across my path that know me that I don't even know them. But because I'm out in the community, I go out to the community to bring information back, to get the services that you need. So I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to please support the HOA, okay? The other issue that I want to share with you, on the 28th of this month, I'm planning another community meeting because there are a lot of changes taking place in our communities. We have high-rises that are going up, rezoning, and you need to have a voice. Don't wait until things happen and then complain. You need to have input. That's all I'm asking. So when I send you the texts inviting you to come out and share with your neighbors. I'm happy to be your president, but I'm looking for some young people so that we can train, because our board right now, some of them have been on the board for over 30 years. And thank God for Janine. I thank God for Kevin. We are on the road all the time. So we're having 3 people, but I have a backup because I have the older board members that pull my shirt tail. I put it like that. When I'm getting off balance, they have a way of pulling me back in because I care about the community. And one other thing I want to say, I'm a intercessor and prayer warrior. I do. I'm a prayer warrior, and sometimes when I'm praying, I'm so concerned about other people. And then I'll say to myself, I said, Lord, I haven't asked you for anything for myself, but I know other people are praying for me. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for the staff with the city. We're going to miss you. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you. I've had a chance to meet you, and all of you know me. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Again, thank you. If you have not gotten any refreshments, I'm sure there's still things in the back. This has been lovely, wonderful. Did you enjoy this? And hopefully you'll come out for week 7. Thank you kindly. Yes, Ms. Wilkerson. Yes, yeah, I thought she was out in prayer. Psalms 91, they that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, and my God, in him will I trust.
Hallelujah.
And surely he
And
shall deliver thee.
hallelujah.